one of the first things I worked on in my game was the movement system. As you can see, the player can move, if really move side to side. It is a bit slidey, so it still needs to be balanced, but the side-on movement works. The next thing was the jump, which, as you can see, also works, but it still needs to be fixed, as if the player moves side to side and jumps, their forces get messed up and the jump is way weaker than it should be. The next system was the breathing limitation feature and also the checkpoint system. Currently, every 10 seconds, if the player doesn't touch this blue water source, they end up dying. If the player touches a checkpoint, which is over here to the right, they will instead teleport over there and lose 1 health. And there you go, so it teleported me over there. You can also activate other checkpoints to update the variable in the player manager. And currently the checkpoint will be to the left of the water source. There you go. Now you can update the checkpoint again. And you can also stop this from happening, stop the player from dying, by just simply entering the water source at some point, and it will reset the timer, which is set to 10 seconds. Another thing I worked on was a dash, the dash feature, which basically allows the player to dash in one direction wherever they were last facing, and this works both on the ground and in the air. There are some issues with it where sometimes the timer doesn't update properly if the player is in the air, as it should update the timer and allow the player immediately to dash even though they were in the air, but I'll need to work it out at some point, but in the current state I'm going to leave it as it is. The last feature is the wall climb mechanic. Currently this works by just changing the player friction when entering a collision object. So this cyan wall here, for example, has the friction set to 0, so the player slides off immediately. And then when the player exits the collision, it simply changes the friction back to 0.5 or whatever the value is, so the player doesn't get affected on the ground. This wall here, for example, instead changes the friction to 1, so the player can stick to it. You can also dash off of it. One issue with the wall is that, as you can see here, after dropping from the wall, the jump for some reason gets weaker. I still haven't worked out why that is, but it just happens.